Hello and welcome to the Best Thing From podcast. I'm Kev.
And I'm Steve.
And it's weird not having to do these back-to-back in like 5 or 6 episodes in a row, or however many it was. How many was it that we did?
3.
3,
but,
it felt like more.
Who says we're not doing back-to-back?
I'd rather not, if that's all right. Can we just do this one?
Yeah, as long as we do the other one that lasts us 2 hours.
Yeah, we'll see. Hello, one and all. Welcome to another show. This is into normal Best Thing From territory now, because it's not all artificial and scripted like it was last week. It was. I mean, there was like a team of 7 or 8 script writers put last week's show together because we couldn't possibly come up with 3 shows in one sitting by ourselves. So we threw in bits, didn't we? But a lot of that was the writing team last week.
We just kind of stood behind them, just shouting words. Crisps, Toms. Which I didn't know they were called. Yeah, that's what those tomato ones were called.
We did have a lot of feedback on Twitter about crisps. It says a lot about our listener base that we did some quite in-depth episodes that we thought were quite good about books and banking. We've not had any feedback at all on them, but all Twitter has been talking about all week is crisps. We've had quite a few interesting pieces of feedback. Obviously, we now know those tomato ones are called Toms. We've discovered a little bit more about Transformer crisps and how you can apparently make them into skeleton men.
Wow.
Someone has got in touch with us and told us that Tesco, until very recently, was selling hot crust bun flavour crisps, which are now being sold off for 10p a pack, which is remarkable. The person who told
us that, Richard Pell,
yeah.
I went to college with someone called that, sat 2 seats down from him for a year. I wonder if it's the same person.
Probably is. So it can't be more than one, is there?
Can't.
Did that guy eat unusual flavoured crisps?
He ate a lot of unusual things.
Hmm.
If you grew up in Essex, Richard Pell, let me know.
Most mind-blowing of all, though, was the discovery, and I think it was you enlightening me about this.
I actually, before we start, you mentioned it and everything, and then you were tweeting about it, and I thought to myself, there must be somewhere on the internet that will remember this happening. And I sat there. Do you know, I only googled 3 different phrases. The first 2 were a write-off, but then the third one, a forum article come. Anyone remember this happening? And there's just loads of
What
people.
was the phrase that you googled?
I cannot remember. It was something just like crisps with added a flavour you have to add in yourself in a sachet, different flavours or something like that. Really messed up.
If you have no idea what we're talking about, this was on episode 1 where we talked about my experience with Miracle Crisps that you added your own flavours to out of a sachet. Not salt and shake, actual flavours. Turns out it actually happened.
It did. There was an experiment. I can't remember what he said. When was it you supposedly had this happen?
I think it was the early 90s.
Yeah, because basically they said apparently a company did a flavour and shake experiment in the Leicestershire, Lincolnshire area where a very small sample of people were given crisps and then a variety of flavours that they could choose from and add, but the idea was that you could mix and match. You got more flavours than you did crisps, and you had to kind of just... You played around with it as and when you liked. And it sounds like, from what I was reading, because it linked to a BBC article about it, and some kind of... It wasn't Wikipedia, it was one of these fake... I thought of the idea 10 years too late Wikipedias, like WikiHow or something, that was talking also about it, and they both said, yeah, it was an experiment that very few people were a part of. So it sounds like you've been experimented on, sir.
Yeah, that would explain why I only remember it happening once. Bizarrely, I only remember it happening one evening. So I don't know who ate the rest of those crisps. But, yeah, assuming that is now true, I now need to have a conversation with my dad about a tomato Christmas tree decoration that I've been telling him for the last 20 years we bought from a shop in the New Forest that only sold Christmas decorations. And we bought this one in the shape of a tomato while we were there on holiday one summer. And that Christmas, when it wasn't there to put on the tree, I went nuts. And he's been telling me for 20 years that we never bought that, but now I know that all these childhood myths actually happened, as proven by this crisp situation. I'm going to get him. I want to know where the tomato is. I reckon he smashed it.
Are you sure it's not just a red bauble?
It looked like a tomato.
Everything looks like food to you.
It was either a tomato or an apple, but I always thought it was a tomato. I never understood why. The reason I thought it was so unique and wonderful and bought it in the shop was because who the hell puts a shiny tomato on a Christmas tree? It was genius.
You're looking at these shiny silver tomatoes and these stupid gold tomatoes, and you're not realising that baubles exist.
Well, it's not, I am, full disclosure, I am red-green colourblind, but I distinctly remember this red, shiny bauble with a green bit on top.
Yeah, so there's no chance you could have seen that. You've just unravelled your own mystery there. You just made that one up.
Sachets of salt in a bag of crisps. But I imagine the reason it's not particularly cost effective is because the joy of this was the fact that you had 3 or 4 bags of crisps and about 30 different flavours of flavouring to choose from. If you just had to buy a bag of cheese and onion crisps with that were just plain and a sachet of cheese and onion powder in, it probably wouldn't quite be so magical, would it?
No, if you got to have the choice, that's the magic. Unless they just sold the choice, they could say, like, if you want a pack of 8 flavours, it's a pound, but if you want a pack of 20 flavours, it's £2.
I'd happily spend £30 on a multi-bag of these. I would, 6 bags of crisps and 600 different flavours, and you'd only have to buy the flavours. You could buy the flavours online. If Tesco just sold plain crisps and you got in contact with Crisps R Us on the internet, and once every 6 months they sent you a crate full of different sachets of flavours, I'd be all over that. I'd have a standing order for that. I'd happily do that.
Start making your own crisps, I suppose.
I did. Well. That's the other thing I did after last week's show. I was making chips at the weekend, and I thought, I know what I'll do. While I'm peeling these, I'm going to peel off an extra layer, and I'm going to sling them in the fryer with the rest of the chips and see what happens. They ain't up to much.
No?
No, I think I overcooked them. I made the mistake of just slinging them in with the chips and leaving them in for the same amount of time. So the chips came out lovely and golden. The crisps were a bit black and broken. Yeah, so I think obviously you don't cook them as long. So that was my first rookie mistake.
See, I planned that. When we were talking about it, I thought I'm going to go home and do that. Second I got in the door, I forgot this podcast even existed.
It's easily done. You had anything else interesting happen to you this week? I imagine it's been quite a slow week in Sheepdog Towers.
Yeah, not much has really happened. I know where you're going. I'm kind of... it's not the best segue into it. I was on a driving lesson, pootling around. Do you know, have you ever been in a scenario where you're going along and stuff keeps coming into your mind and you're thinking, don't be a knob. I'm going along and I saw a magpie and I'm thinking, what's the worst that can happen? Carry on a little bit more and I'm just thinking, like, something else happens and you're thinking, that's a bit unlucky at all. And I saw another magpie and I thought, that's 2, that's probably good luck, or is it double bad luck? And then I stalled a little bit and the guy says to me, like, watch out, that car behind didn't know you were going to slow down a bit. It didn't stop. I was changing gear, and you slow down really quick if you change your gear too quick and you haven't warned people behind you. That happened, and I thought, bit of a warning there. I'll watch out what I'm doing. So going around, and it was getting near the end of the lesson. I thought, this lesson's gone really well. Normally I'm making all these little mistakes here and there, but this has just gone absolutely brilliant. So I go around this corner, and there's always this corner where I always make mistakes, and I pulled up to come up to roundabout, and I slowed down a bit, and I went round it. And I thought, hang on a minute, this is all going well. And it was like the last circuit of the day, and I'm thinking, this is all going really well. And there was a van on the roundabout, so I slowed down a bit. I thought, right, I'll stop, let him finish what he's doing, because otherwise I'd have crashed. So I stopped, go to change it in the first gear, start the car up and pull away. And I did it a bit quick, because I kind of thought, we're nearly done. And I didn't rush it, but I kind of fumbled what I was doing. So I'm like, what a knob, saying, I almost did it without any mistakes there, and we're chatting a little bit. And in mid-sentence, he just sort of leans across me and starts hitting the horn. And I thought, it's a bit of a random thing to do. And I sort of looked slightly to my right, thinking, there's nothing there. There's nobody, like, near us. And it's like so much stuff happened in the same amount of space. And he's hitting this horn, and I'm thinking, what is he doing? He's not beeping to anyone. There's nothing there. And then suddenly this car just smashed into the back of us really hard. But it had been like a good sort of, I'd say 8 seconds of just nothing happening, where I'm just thinking, what's going on?
Where did the car come from? So the instructor had time to see it was going to happen, lean over and start tooting the horn.
He'd been hitting the horn like 3 or 4 times while I'm sitting there thinking, what is he doing? Like, get off, I'm trying to drive. I thought he was honking someone he knew. And I said to him on the way home, I was like...
Is that something he regularly does?
No, I said to him, I thought you just saw someone you know out the corner of your eye and started whipping him. And I was going to tell you to get off. And he was like, I don't normally do that. And I said, well, I know, but... Nothing else had happened. I sort of thought, maybe it was a false alarm, and this car, just went ploughing through the back of us. Scared the crap out of me, because when he first did it, I thought something's happened, we've missed an accident. But I kind of let my guard down in that sort of 6 to 8 second gap and thought, nothing's happened, we've avoided it. And then he just come ploughing through us. I heard him say, because my instructor, A lot of people have crashed into him in the past 2 years, by the sounds of it.
Because he drives an invisible car. That's where he's going. He should stop driving that camouflage vehicle and get a bright green one.
That's it. So this is the problem.
Bright green wouldn't help. That's camouflage as well. Get a bright pink one.
Get a leaf-coloured one. That would be. Or a road-coloured one. But he got out, because the thing is, he's told me that the most recent time it happened, this woman said that the person in the car reversed into her or something like that. So he was like, well, why would they have done that on a road when they'd stopped? Why would they have just put it in reverse and gone ploughing into you? So he's got a camera in the back of his car that films what's going on behind him and all of this. So he got out, checked that was on, brilliant, gets his other camera out, just starts taking pictures of the entire scene from every possible angle. And you hear the other guy get out and just say, oh, I'm really sorry. I saw the roundabout was empty on there, so I just went for it. Thought it was empty, right? And he was like, but there's a car there. Can you not see the car? And he was like, yeah, I just
So
assumed.
you were still on the roundabout, were you? Or
I hadn't got onto the roundabout. You pull up and you wait for it to clear off. I was there, and I hadn't done anything. Because I'd stopped to let a van go, because I couldn't go on the roundabout, and then I'd stalled, but there was no one behind me when I'd done that. It was like I was just there. For all he would have known, I was just waiting for it to empty. But because he saw it was empty, he didn't check if there was anyone in front of him. He just assumed if there was, they'd go. If there wasn't, he could go. And he just ploughed through us as though there was nothing there. I sat there. He's going, are you all right? And I'm thinking, I don't know, can't feel anything. And I was thinking, can I not feel anything because
because you've broken your neck?
That's it. I kind of thought, well, am I hurt and I can't feel it? Which I didn't think so. It wasn't that bad. When it was done, the car was still wedged in the back of it, so I'm guessing it must have come with us. It must have just pushed us along really quick. And it felt like someone had just punched me in the back. That was generally the feeling, that someone had just thumped me right between, your coccyx at the back, where your tailbone would be if you were a monkey sort of thing. It was that, and I had my leg planted on the bloody clutch. So I'm thinking, like, it hit me, pushed my knee into that harder. So within 10 minutes, I'm sat there thinking my knee hurts, my back hurts, and my neck hurts. But I was thinking, it doesn't hurt enough that I can be like, oh, I've got to put a claim in. So I mentioned it on Twitter, and obviously this had happened, didn't I? And the amount of people who just went, you should call the police, tell them you've got whiplash. And I'm like,
yeah.
I said to him, it doesn't really hurt. And a mate of ours, said that apparently it takes 12 hours to kick in. Within 12 hours, it can get worse.
Yeah, you want to be straight down the doctor's. Oh, my neck, and there's 10 grand in your back pocket. Get yourself a new hairpiece.
Well, I sat there and I thought, it doesn't really feel that bad. A quick bath will probably fix that. So I had a bath, and then I just sat there, and it went away after a while. But then the next day, it started hurting again. I thought, oh shit, he's right about this 12 hours. I don't want it to hurt. But I had a bit of a cold as well, so I wasn't really sure whether it was that or
the car accident you'd been in.
Yeah, because it just felt like that. You know, when you have a cold and you start aching, it felt like that. That was all it was. And then I said to my wife, if it keeps getting worse, then I'll start talking about doctors, and if it's damaged, then I'll start thinking about what I've got to do. I'm not going to just let the guy get away with smashing through the back of as if it's going to hurt. But no, it was fine in the end. I didn't have any pain.
My back's a bit sore.
Can we pretend you're in the car?
I'd love to pretend I was in the car. And I mean, you say the instructor was taking loads of pictures. Did he take any pictures of the back seat of the car you were in?
Yeah, probably, but you can probably superimpose yourself into them.
I was in the boot.
Yeah, that'd be quite cool.
You'd taken me hostage. I was tied up in the boot, and I ended up with a cart stuck in the back of me. That could work. So I assume you're now banned from having lessons with this driving instructor ever again, as you've written off his car.
Well, I said to him, I was like, so much effort for you now then? Much of a faff ahead? And he was like, well, I've got to take the car to be repaired, and they're going to have to give me a courtesy car for however long it takes, and then I've got to chase this guy to make sure his insurance pays out, and he might change his story like the last woman did, and he's rattling off, and I just kind of went, sorry. And
at which point you said, so do I get a refund on the last 8 minutes of this lesson then? No, I'll take a check.
I sort of said, sorry, I said to him, I was really annoyed, because I was actually quite annoyed that it happened, thinking like, I can't believe I stalled, and that happened. I was like, I'm so annoyed. If I hadn't stalled, that wouldn't have happened. And he was like, you were there for because it was. I was there. As I say, there was 8 seconds between the guy bipping and the guy hitting us, but I'd been stopped for a good 10 seconds before that. That was why it was so bizarre that I'd been watching this van tour off. The van had completely gone. I was just trying to start up the car, and I'd stalled, and he'd said, "I'll leave it," and I'm saying, "I've got to turn the engine on and off," and all of this. We were having a discussion about me stalling. It was really weird. So he said to me, "It weren't your fault. You didn't make it happen. You were just, obviously in future you just need to make sure you don't rush your gear change because that will stall the car." And
In future, when you're with your new driving instructor, make sure